Are you ready, Mr. Jones?
Rolling.
Good evening. Thank you for coming. My game plan tonight is it's going to be somewhat informal. I would like to start out by giving a brief overview of the policy itself. Now, the policy has been online for, this is before Thanksgiving, it was online. I made 20 copies. They're back there by the computer if you want one. If not, that's fine too. After I give my overview of the policy, I will have Kyle come up, and Kyle's from Great Lakes Biomedical, and he will give an overview of the program and then open the floor up for questions about the actual testing protocol. And he will hopefully be able to answer your questions and anything that is non-related or unrelated, to the testing procedure or protocol that's more unique to just the policy. I would be happy to field those questions. We also have board members in the audience. Hopefully they can help if there's anything that I'm stumped on. So the policy itself was, and I spoke to some of you already. Some of you I'm trying to touch base with. We are, it was devised to try to be as non-punitive as possible, meaning that each time there is an offense, it gets more aggressive in its consequences, but the first time around, it is really just really an opportunity for them to get help without having any limitations of the extracurricular, sports, or parking privileges. So we are testing those three populations: sports, extracurriculars, and anyone who drives, grades 9 through 12. We have been having conversation, as most of you know, for, I would say, 4 months at the minimum to try to develop this policy, and last month it passed with a 5-0 vote. If you are tested, or in that testing pool, you are up for random selection through the company. The company will come here, and if you would happen to get a positive result, the first offense, there is no consequences other than they have to, the student has to be put in contact with into a chemical assessment program. The second positive result, which would happen after they've tested positive the first time, they have to be tested for the next 5 random tests that are in that population. And that is a way to, it definitely becomes non-random. Benefiting the student. The second positive result would result in 50% of the parking privileges being suspended, 6 weeks of the extracurricular participation being suspended, and or 50% of the regular season of the sporting event. Hi, welcome. We'll just start. There are some policies there. If you haven't seen the policy and would like to review it with me, that's fine.
Thank you.
No problem. So that would be the second one. You would lose essentially 50% of your involvement. A third positive result would be the last, it's a 3-strike drive kind of policy. At that point, then they are barred from the participation for their time at the school in all 3 of those areas. I should also say with the second and third positive result, they need to enroll in a drug treatment program. The students need to enroll in that type of opportunity to help them at the next level. In terms of timeline, well, let me also say there's a voluntary opt-in clause that we added for any student who is not in any of those subgroups in which their parents would like to participate in the program. They can do so accordingly. The timeline would be, I'm hoping that next week there will be letters mailed out to anybody that falls into those categories. And the consent forms will be included with those letters. And I would ask that those consent forms be turned in prior to we leave for winter break. So that should give us about a week and a half turnaround. I think there should be enough time to get those forms back turned in, and then we will look at full steam ahead at the start of the new year, start of January. I'm not committing to when we're actually starting it, because I think that's the whole point of being random. But we can't start anything without having consent forms turned in. So we will have that deadline for the Friday before break. If you decide not to enroll or participate by consenting, then if your child is engaging in any of those 3 opportunities, then they will stop accordingly. So they will not be driving to start of school in January. They will not be be able to participate in sport team or in the extracurricular. I really think that is all I need to say in terms of a brief overview. Do you have any questions for me directly prior to me letting Kyle talk for a little bit?
Why do you want to do this?
I'm just...
Is there a drug? Is there a drug problem at this school compared to other schools
I think that
in the county?
I would say that yes, we
You
have as
would,
many
you would
problems as
say,
anybody
you would
else.
say, what are you hedging that on? You would say there is. What are you comparing that to?
Well, I think that the concerns are coming from internal concerns that were brought to me privately, and then it doesn't take much of imagination to just read the news, the newspaper alone. Since the passing of the policy, there has been articles from the paper that have reached to the statewide issues all the way down to the county issues that were having drug concerns in the area. So the thing that Mr. Jones just handed to me was this was December 1st, so this was on Sunday. It says, heroin epidemic taking toll in Portage County. There's people being charged with marijuana charges that are right down the road. We have the...
Many at our school.
We're talking about Warren
At our school. We're not talking
In our
about
community.
county. Every county has drug problems.
Yes.
So we're taking a
What
proactive
happens?
approach to it.
But why do you want to penalize kids? I know some kids that smoke dope they quit smoking dope while they're playing football. So if you don't let them play football,
What are they going to do?
what are they going to do? They're going to go smoke more dope and get more dope. So what's
They're
the...
actually adding to the problem by pulling them out of their sports, not letting them ride. Did you think
Well,
of that aspect of it?
well, I'm
Did you
only-
do the opposite?
I would only be pulling them out of portions of their activities if they engage in this type of behavior twice and get tested and have a positive result twice. So I don't see how I'm pulling them out unless they continue to engage in the risky behavior.
Don't we already have a drug policy? We already have a policy, no drugs at the school, no tobacco. Is that correct?
Yes, but we don't have anything that is testing whether or not that is actually effective or not.
When the drug laws came through, did they find anything?
Yeah. What are you basing this on other than an article in the newspaper?
Right. I don't see any basis for what engaged this.
Unfortunately, at this time, the policy has been passed. And the purpose of tonight is to not to debate whether or not...
Who passed it?
Why are we rushing through it now?
Why, within a week, you want to pass all
Am
that?
I ready to enact it before the
I'm-
community speaks?
Can I say
No,
something?
not right now.
Oh, okay.
Just hold on.
No?
I don't feel, okay, so the policy was passed in November. I told you that we had been having this discussion in board meetings for 4 months. There were surveys that were circulated. There were opportunities for input to be given. And unfortunately, the people in the populace that participated in those, the percentage was in favor
What was
of
the
this
survey?
policy.
How are these surveys distributed? What means?
What means did you distribute?
Electronic surveys were.
So what percentage of the parents that go to the school have access to this electronics? You didn't send out your little phone robo thing.
Where was the notification?
And there was 118 people that responded, and you believe you said at a board meeting.
That's-
What percentage of that is the community populace? That has to be at least 1%.
So you take one little thing and one little people and
You know,
call
how
it
about the thing, the
populace.
majority of the community is against this.
And I would tell you that the people that I've talked to are the exact opposite. So I guess majority is very difficult.
And what if people have facts? I mean, we have
But-
petitions that prove we have more against it than you have for it.
And you even have to respond.
And unfortunately, the what, say that again, please?
We have more signatures on petitions than responded to your survey. And you would have gotten much greater of a response had you made it available and more public and higher level, so that those of us that have an opinion about how we rear our children and the awesome responsibility that that is, that would take the time. But it was either kept at a low level and not published for lack of response because you don't care. And I think that needs to be readdressed.
Can you bring it
I
back?
mean, the board, the school board, I read school board members' responsibilities, and there's 7 pages, and on every single page, they're to represent the values and standards of the community. I don't think that was followed.
Not a superintendent, not a few people, the community as a whole, and we're not doing our job.
Well, unfortunately, Deb, I'm sorry.
I
see you
think,
back.
I think the biggest mistake made is what they're concerned about. I spoke with you. I found out through my son. I listened to him. Not everybody listens to him. It was in my email. I wasn't reading my email. I didn't get it. I think, at hindsight, it would have been better if it was sent out like everything else. Our newsletters, even if it was in our newsletters. Everybody gets their information from different places, and I learned from my son that this was going on. I didn't care. I stayed out of it. But then I started hearing a little more. I had more concerns. I came to you. We scratched the surface. I'm still against it. I understand where you're coming from, but I think a lot of people feel that it's an invasion into their family, the concerns of the bad. I'm praying that this works. If that's what you're going to do, I pray that this works the way it's intended. My concerns are that what you're trying to prevent is going to happen. Right. So,
And if you can't test the teachers, you have no right to check the students.
I think you have a lot of angry parents because they don't listen to them. They don't have an email. The kids haven't told them. I think you do. I don't know how many. Like she said, how many people was at the meetings. I told Steve, hey, my bad. I wasn't there. I didn't hear about it until I came and spoke with you. Within 2 days, I was up here. I think we had a good conversation. We weren't irate with each other. We just talked and found out where the concerns were. I was happy with the answers, but I still have concern with it. So I guess just to stop all of the, like you said, we're debating it now. It has passed. If you got a survey back from a mailing, would it be readdressed through the board?
Say that again.
If a survey was sent out to all the parents, sent home with kids, and you got a response overwhelming from the parents that are against this, could it be brought back up with the board?
I think right now, where we are sitting is that we are moving forward with the understanding that we will reevaluate the progress that we are making after implementation. Right now, it is very hard to
You
tell.
sound just like Nancy Pelosi.
Define
Get with it. The people do not want it. Bring it to a vote in Waterloo
It
School
was brought
District.
to a vote by the board.
It was
Right now-
by 5 people.
by 5 people.
And right now,
Thank
unfortunately,
you, all the board members.
and right now, the fact of the matter is the policy is passed.
I don't care.
It's not
We don't have to
It's not
implement it.
implemented.
Let's put it on hold until we all agree.
Even Obamacare waited 4 or 5 or 8 years,
You're going to cause a big, big problem in the school district that you can't handle.
Did the board members read the policy before they passed it?
Board
Was
members,
there
is
a policy implemented before you guys?
Fully
voted?
written as now.
Fully written,
I've read it.
before you
When
voted?
did you read
Absolutely.
it, Steve?
I read it
there's been
before we even voted on it. We've read it at least 3
We've
times.
changed it.
Changed it before it
You
ever
said
got
there's
passed.
multiple revisions.
We've changed it, Renee.
We've had
I mean,
versions of it. We've gone
Yes, it was
through
finalized, I'm saying
and
there's
made
multiple.
changes and made
That
corrections.
needed to be seen by the entire community.
well,
You guys snuck it through, just like you snuck the levy through.
Yeah, like better than everybody else.
And people wonder why the community gets irate. Because you try to sneak things through.
Marty, I've talked to one parent only that has not been for this. I talked to, at the football games, I tried to talk to well, Renee, I know, but I didn't get to everybody.
Could have if you'd have made it all aware of it.
Andy has sent around, when Andy was here, he sent around surveys. He went and talked to groups. He did this, he did that. I mean, God, we did everything but rent a Goodyear blimp to try to get people. No, listen, what I'm saying, what I'm saying is in the past, we had forms, we sent papers home that with the kids. My kids never bring papers home. So I've had people tell me that they don't read the newspaper. We put it in the newspaper. I've had people that tell me that they don't watch TV. I mean, how do we get a hold of everybody? So
Use the robocall.
When teachers get time off, when there's a meeting, when
There was
there's,
a
I get phone calls.
robocall that said that the survey was online.
I mean, I spent a lot of time trying to talk to parents. You know, at the football games, at the soccer games that I went to, and all the parents that I talked to was for it. So, I mean, I can't talk to everybody. Everybody that I talked to, now, if they were lying to me, that's their fault. Because I asked them, I said, tell me the truth. I represent you. Tell me the truth.
But they didn't read a policy that is law.
We've had a lot of people say, we're all for it, that's a good idea. And then they said,
But then until you
then we
read a
said, read the
policy.
article, you have to pay for it. Well, we're not for it, we have to pay for it.
Well, we're-
People didn't know that they have to pay for these tests.
The school's paying for it. We're paying for it.
You pass a levy to do drug testing?
That's my question. I passed a levy on the assumption that we were in such a financial disaster that we were in danger of being taken over by the state. I passed this levy. I went around my neighborhood. I convinced others to pass this levy. And now we're spending money that if you really had the children's safety in mind, then we would be spending the money on metal detectors at the doors and not random drug testing. I mean, I think that we have more of a problem with teen pregnancy and STDs than we do with drugs in this neighborhood.
Why don't you educate them and get programs instead of wasting the money on this?
And since when did nicotine become an illegal substance that needed to be included? Are these tests charged by each additional drug that you test for? I used to work for a drug testing company.
Why don't we let Kyle talk a little bit? And
Let us talk, we want to get this out. You're doing a good job. Keep going.
I used to work for a drug testing company. Each and every drug that you test for is an additional cost, okay? And not only that, but you have to have people who are here to administer these tests. You have to send them to school and they have to be certified. You cannot do a random drug testing unless that person is certified by the state to do so. Okay, that's an additional cost.
Who's your designated official?
For a school that was such endangerment of being taken over by the state, I can't see justifying that you're spending our tax money on unnecessary additional expenditures when there's other things that this school needs worse. And if you do want to consider the safety of the children, then don't test for somebody who might be smoking cigarettes or toking a little bit of weed. You want to ensure safety? Then you spend the money on metal detectors at the 2 entrances. That I can understand.
With the teachers, everybody.
Not only that, but every child who takes an antihistamine or an ADHD drug, they're going to fail.
Right.
The first time.
Public knowledge.
Exactly.
If I may say something, that's why I want Kyle to talk, because some of the things you're referring to, he can talk to directly because he is the company that will be offering, he represents the company that will be offering those services.
Can we talk to you afterwards?
I'm not leaving. I mean, you can stay and talk as long as you want. But let's let him talk. That's the purpose that we're here tonight. I would be happy to talk to all of you. I would be happy to stay and talk to you. So we'll let Kyle talk and then we'll go from there.
Good evening. Now, you're all glad to see me, so. My name's Kyle Krieger. I'm the owner of Great Lakes Biomedical. We're a drug and alcohol testing company. We specialize in the school drug testing. We also do